Okay, you can begin.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Housing, Urban Development and Zoning Committee for July 7th, 10 a.m. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Cone, Vice Chair Coder,
Here.
Alderwoman Boyd,
Here.
Alderman Ryan,
Here.
Alderwoman Evans,
Here.
Chairwoman Davis.
Present.
5 present, you have quorum.
Okay. Do we have any minutes for approval?
Yes, ma'am, the minutes from June 22nd, 2022.
Chair accepts a motion for minutes for June 22nd, 2022.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved in second. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Alderman Cone, Vice Chair Coder,
Aye. Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd,
Aye.
Alderman Ryan,
Aye.
Alderwoman Evans,
Aye.
Chairwoman Davis.
Aye.
5 aye votes.
Thank you very much. We have one board bill on our agenda that we'd like to address today. And Alderwoman Shameen Clark Hubbard, would you like to present, please?
Sure. Thank you, Alderwoman Davis and Chairman Davis, I'm sorry, and Chairwoman Davis and the committee. I just want to just first start by saying thank you. I know there was some discussion as to why this meeting was held now and the time it was, and it's because she so graciously picked up a ball that I dropped. So I want to say thank you again to you, Chairwoman Davis, and to Clerk Kennedy and Clerk Sharif Rogers, everybody for helping me continue what we're trying to show the city that we're continuing to do the work, even through our own personal trials. And this is board bill. I would like to introduce board bill 56 committee sub, but I am waiting on the speaker to come on. Youth Director Yusuf Scoggins, for any questions. I hope you all saw it, but it's the well, I'll go ahead and ask Clerk Rogers if you can read it, and hopefully he'll come on by then just for any technical questions. But we all know what this is and where the need is and how greatly we need to make sure these resources are readily available for our constituents.
Go right ahead.
Okay, I will read Board Bill 56. I am actually changing Mr. Scoggins to a panelist, so give me just a second so he'll be able to speak.
I knew that wasn't like him because he know I like to brag. I'm his older lady now. I knew he wasn't gonna let me down.
He's on the panelist side. Okay, Board Bill 56 introduced by Alderwoman Shameen Clark Hubbard, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, wherein the Board of Aldermen authorizes the receipt of and appropriates funds under a sub-grantee agreement between the City of St. Louis and the State of Missouri Department of Economic Development and Missouri Housing Development Commission. Funds appropriated by the federal government under the Consolidated Appropriation Act 2021 to establish the Emergency Rental Assistance Program for the emergency rental and housing assistance payments by local governments and contain an emergency clause.
Thank you.
So Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, do you have another amendment for this bill?
No, we did the committee sub.
Okay.
It should have been in the yesterday and drive yesterday.
Okay, I wanted to make sure. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Go right ahead.
Okay, so with that, I'll entertain any, myself as well as Director Scoggins is on if we have any questions from the committee.
Okay, I think what I'd like to do is, if you don't mind, could we have Director Scoggins explain the importance of this bill so that the questions can be more pertinent? The questions shall pertain more to the bill.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you, Chairwoman Davis, as well as Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Appreciate the time of the committee this morning, as well as the reason of this bill and its consideration. Rental assistance is part of the piece of the puzzle for addressing housing instability within the region. The pandemic has certainly impacted a number of households, but additionally, we are living in extraordinary times where inflation in so many of our products, but also rent is really putting a squeeze on households. And so rental assistance dollars are extraordinarily important in assisting households to try to get by. Those dollars have been deployed in a variety of ways over the last several years, both in CARES dollars and now emergency rental assistance dollars. They've helped to reduce the number of evictions, which is one of the reasons why we haven't seen as high of an increase of the unhoused in what is already a tight sheltering system. And so the continuation of this and the access of more resources to provide rental assistance for households is critical. And so we did, out of this office, deploy over $10 million of emergency rental assistance dollars under the first package. We were the recipients of $12.44 million of rental assistance, which we are currently deploying in partnership with the county, who has approximately $30 million. And those operations are going well. However, we recognize that at some point, these resources will not be available because they will have been exhausted. We want to extend as long as possible what we have of these second rounds of dollars. So the timetable for the use of the second round of dollars will likely go well into next year if afforded the opportunity to utilize some of the dollars which have a much tighter timeline. So the dollars that are being proposed for receipt under this bill are both twofold. One is the dollars that MHDC, the Missouri Housing Development Corporation, has received under rental assistance dollars that have to be spent by September 30th. And that is in accordance with the Treasury's overall guidance in regards to those dollars. The state of Missouri did receive over $400 million, $408 million to be exact, overall. And MHDC specifically, at the state level, of those $408 million, received around $325 million. And so they've had some difficulty in deploying all of those resources, as one might imagine. And so they have offered up communities like ours the opportunity to access some of those resources to help deploy those resources. Just to give a little context, our community, the more urban communities, have been more significantly impacted, I think, in a variety of ways. One is the cost of living is more expensive in more urban areas, and the disproportionate need has been represented there as well. And so when they offered this as an opportunity, we wanted to ensure that we took advantage of this. And so we did make a request for MHDC to afford us the opportunity to receive up to the maximum of $25 million, which can be afforded to a community that requested. Those dollars are deployed to that particular community in $5 million intervals so as to not load that community with dollars that might not be spent. And so that is the plan. We're in discussions with them because obviously the timeline is fairly tight and the receipt of these dollars are critical as soon as possible to ensure that we can get as many of those deployed locally. So that's the state dollars. But then additionally, the Treasury Department, directly from the Treasury, not as funneled through the state, but directly from the Treasury, they issued guidance about the reallocation process. The reallocation process takes into account communities that received the emergency rental assistance $1, but for one reason or another, were not able to utilize those dollars. And the opportunity to then reissue those dollars to communities that did need them was offered as an opportunity, and we did make a request for up to $10 million from those reallocated dollars. They have a slightly longer timeline because obviously the Treasury makes its own rules. And so those dollars would have to be spent by the end of December. So we are trying to, again, take advantage of every possible angle that would allow us to use those dollars, which have a short period of time, a timeline, to be used through the end of the year, potentially, both by September for the state dollars and then by December for the direct treasury dollars. And then that would allow us to hold on potentially to our ERAP $2, our emergency rental assistance $2, to extend for a longer period of time into 2023. And so that's essentially our logic there. Just to give a little bit of context, over the pandemic, these rental assistance dollars have helped to reduce the number of evictions in our region by over 80%. That's been helpful, not just to the households that we are here to serve, but also to the landlords who are providing affordable housing, who need to make ends meet as well, and struggle to sometimes receive those rents if the tenants cannot pay for them. But we have also seen an increase in recent months in the eviction docket. Essentially, in May, we had about 300 households that were on the eviction docket that we were made aware of. In the following June month, that was up to 450. So that was a 50% increase in a 1 month term. Some of that, again, is the pressure of the increasing rents. And as some tenants are coming to the end of their term of their lease, some landlords are electing not to renew as they desire to increase the rent significantly. And so we're working with mediation. We have the Conflict Resolution Center, as well as some other mediation entities, to ensure that we are supporting those households in their transition. These rental assistance dollars can help in that transition. Lastly, we recognize that affordable housing is not just an issue here in the city, but it is an issue in the entire region, as there have been many media stories that have highlighted private equity purchasing properties in the region and desiring and giving folks notice that they need to move more immediately. And so we're continuing to try to work with our regional partners, as access to affordable housing is not just simply a city issue. It is a regional issue. It is a national issue. And so, again, I appreciate you all's time this morning and your support in this fashion, as we, again, want to prevent people from becoming homeless or dealing with these sort of issues as these months go on, by preventing and providing the supports that they need while they're in their unit.
Okay, thank you very much. I was just educated on a number of things, so I appreciate that explanation. I'd like to start with the committee members now, so you may ask any questions that you have. We'll start with you, Alderman Kodor. Alderman Kotar.
No questions.
All right. Alderwoman Boyd.
No questions.
Okay. Alderman Narayan.
No questions. Thank you.
Okay. Alderwoman Evans.
No questions. Thank you.
Okay. I see several alderpersons that are listening. If you are interested in asking a question, could you please go ahead and open your mic? Looks like we have no questions from the other alderpersons. I only have one question for process. Is there any plans to contact property management companies? Because a lot of times people are in trouble and they're either too embarrassed to get help and or just don't know where to go get help. And I was just wondering, are we contacting any of the larger developments, property managers?
Yeah, that Chairwoman Davis, that is an excellent point. What we have access to is also data. So we get information around the eviction docket, but not just general addresses and names of households involved, but most importantly, where are some of the concentrations of the most evictions occurring? So we have a select few number of landlords that account for the preponderance of evictions. And making targeted interventions in that regard is part of what the mediation group is starting to do. So we've started to use some of that data to make targeted outreach, both to prevent these evictions, because unfortunately, obviously the costs go up once those eviction filings have been processed. And so what we want to do is create a system where we are better understanding the overall eviction process and also the parties involved, so that we can properly resource those landlords to ensure that they reduce the overall number of evictions. That reduces not only the hardship for the household, the landlord, and working with attorneys, et cetera, but also it reduces the number of cases that judges have to deal with in our court system, which is already overly taxed. So absolutely, utilizing data, I think, is one of the most instructive components of what we can take away from the access to this unprecedented amount of resources that we have been afforded, so that we can instruct future not only policy, but also practice in stemming the tide of folks being terminated from their units.
May I ask, is there any literature that you could disseminate to us that we could provide to
Really?
our property management here? Because I have like close to 2,100 units in my ward, and I know that the majority of those are affordable or low to mod, and a lot of those folks are in trouble. So is there anything I can use to give to them?
Absolutely. We do have flyers. We have other information that can be helpful. We also will be announcing in the next several weeks some efforts by our vendor, along with some community-based organizations, to do various events. And we are certainly open to direct actions in particular complexes where those households may be hard to reach. There may be transportation challenges, or other supports that just might be more beneficially distributed and deployed on site. So certainly we can first start with those, but I think if meaning documents around what information would connect people to those resources, but most importantly, the next step could be an event at the locations that we identify as most impactful.
I like that. Very well. So Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, would you like to close?
I see Alderwoman Evans had her hand up. I'm not sure if she had a question for me. And then I have one thing I need to go back and do. Thank you, Chairwoman.
Okay, all righty. Go right ahead, Alderwoman Evans.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. What I also would like to know, how would someone get in touch with you to receive the information to get these services?
So I will, so we have a link on the city's website, and I'll also make sure that that's in the chat and/or is deployed via email to via Kevin Bailey to all alderpersons. But that provides both a link to where folks can apply. It also has a phone number to ask any sort of questions or get a direct referral to one of our community-based organizations who might be able to provide further assistance in completion of that application.
Right.
Thank you.
All right. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Thank you, Chairwoman Davis. I want to make sure that I formally had the Board Bill 56 committee substitute in front of the committee and not just the Board Bill 56. So I think I need to ask that first.
So you want to move to, you want to make a motion?
Yes. Oh, well, I can't make the motion. One of you all have to make the motion, I think.
I'm willing to accept a motion to put Board Bill 56 committee substitute before
I'm
the.
so moved. Second.
Moved and second. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Alderman Cone, Vice Chair Coder,
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd, Alderman Orion,
Aye.
Alderwoman Evans,
Aye.
Chairwoman Davis,
Aye.
4 aye votes.
Thank you. And so now we have that before us. Alderwoman Hubbard, now you would like to, we will ask for a motion to approve with a due pass recommendation.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairwoman Davis. I ask that we have favorable consideration and a due pass recommendation for Board Bill 56, Committee Substitute.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second, previous roll.
It's been moved and second. Any objection to previous roll has not been heard. Board Bill 56 Committee Substitute has been approved with a due pass recommendation. And I really do appreciate this. So, Madam Clerk, there is, please make a note of that. And I want to go back to Alderwoman Clark Hubbard and thank you and thank Dr. Scoggins because he has given me new hope as a Director of Human Services. And I just want him to know how much he is appreciated.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you all. I really appreciate that and appreciate you all passing this out today. And whatever we can do, again, to support the most vulnerable in the community, never hesitate to reach out.
Yeah, it's really critical that each alderperson receives information that you have available because we're in the neighborhoods all the time at our meetings, at churches, at schools, and we will happily get that information out for you because that's the key. People need to know what's available.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you very much. So our next item on the agenda, do we have any discussion? The only thing I wanted to do is to share with you that we may have another board meeting, and I'm not sure when it's scheduled for, but you'll get the notice in plenty of time. There's also, as we talked about, there's a shortage of members on the committee. And when we come back from break, we'll have some new assignments to the committee. So it's we're less likely not to have a quorum and also give some additional opportunities to be on this committee. Our co-chair, Jack Coder, one of the things that I always try to do is to share the chairmanship. So on occasions, Coder will be chairing the meetings. We will also look at some opportunities to have more education to the committee so that you can understand those things that come before HUD. And now who do we have absent other than Alderman Cohen?
He's the only one.
Okay, so we'll note that he is excused for necessary absence. He did notify me that he would not be able to make it.
So
Is there
noted.
anything else from any of the committee members that you must share? Okay, hearing none. We are now adjourned.
Thank you. See you guys.
Thank you.